Welcome to Rewire Yourself Rich, the podcast for the woman who's done with temporary bullshit mindset shifts and ready for a full nervous system level identity upgrade. The woman who knows she was born to transform the world with her unique superpowers. I'm your host, Kelly Pender, wealth identity rewiring expert, intuitive mentor, and creator of the Rich Coded Method. In our world, we don't manifest like needy ass bitches. We re-encode the big fucking deal wealthy woman back into yourselves. We shift your DNA to remember who the fuck you are. Ready to become rich coded, getting paid to exist? Let's fucking go. Hello, my big fucking deal. Welcome back to another episode of the Rewire Yourself Rich podcast. We have Taylor Smith on the pod, who is a personal brand and business strategist and founder of Power Table. And ooh, this is going to light a fire under your booty. And girl, you are going to be planning your own tour. This is going to be a game changer for you. And Taylor dives into how to actually build your community in a way where you're excited, where you're lit up, where you're all the way the fuck in and on board to do it your way. And she's going to lead you through how to create your own stages where you get to do things before you feel ready. And that's how you shift your identity. And this is how you lead your millionaire movement. Oh, get ready. I cannot wait for you to slide into our DMs to let us know what lands for you. And without further ado, let's dive into this juicy episode with Taylor. Yes, Taylor, thank you so much for being on the pod today. I know that you and I connected in New York City in Times Square, which I'm really excited to share that story. And this podcast is going to be iconic. And thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to dive in with you.
Kelly, I'm so excited to be here on the podcast with you too.
Oh my God, this is going to be amazing. Okay, so backstory, Taylor and I met in Times Square, New York.
I forgot that's
Well,
actually the first place we met. I thought it was at the event,
yes,
but now that you're saying that, no, I
no.
remember you walked up and you were wearing this super sparkly, amazing outfit. Oh, that's right. Okay, here we are in Times Square.
Here we are. So you were the first woman that I met of the day. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Hi. And what I love about you is that you didn't just like small talk with me. You just like dove in, asked me a question. I was like, oh, I love this. And I love you. And I love where we're going. And I wanted to ask you, what are you in human design?
Ooh, I'm a beginner in the knowledge component of this. So you're going to know way more about this than me, but manifesting generator.
Okay. I couldn't tell, but when I met you, I was like, I need to know her human design because the way that you just, we met and we just dove right in. I was like, I love this. I love this woman. And we're meant to have epic conversations. So that's our backstory. We met in Times Square and then we were at the same event with our innovator awards. And it was just so amazing. And you and I were having conversation and what you built and what you're building and creating. I'm like, more women need to know about how they can create a tour for their body of work, for their brand. And to help our listeners tap into their superpowers and soul purpose, the first question that I ask my guests is, how did you become a personal brand and business strategist? I'd love to hear your backstory.
Well, the backstory, I think, will resonate with many people who feel like they're good at too many things and they're not sure which thing they're supposed to become known for.
Yes.
Um, so I was originally, my only goal in life was to be a teacher. I became a college professor at 23 years old. I was
Wow.
basically the same age as my students, and
Mhm.
I was published, a published academic. I had peer-reviewed articles, and it did not take me very long to realize I was incredibly underpaid and undervalued. And working in public ed was killing my soul. So I left
Yeah.
that and I went into working in corporate education, instructional design, and then the pandemic happened. And around that time, I was starting to side hustle. And I became worried I was going to lose my job. So I really started focusing on businesses. And it turned out I was really good at it, actually. My background in human behavioral sciences, my background in teaching was a lot of those skills were highly transferable. to
Mhm.
entrepreneurship. And so very, very quickly in 2020, my businesses took off more than one at the same time. And I realized, oh my gosh, I have to quit my job. It took me 4 months to quit because I was so terrified. I was like, what if
I'm
all
sure.
this goes away tomorrow? What if like the businesses are doing great now, but they might not be in 6 months? And I really had to sit back and say, Taylor, you can always go back. Like you're a teacher. They will hire you back in a second if that's really what you want to do. And fast forward
Yeah.
now, over 6.5 years later, I have never gone back. But in that time, I've done a lot of different roles in business. So I've worked in, the true digital marketing space, whether that was like working on social media content for clients. I've done over
Mhm.
250 digital product launches for clients. I also own businesses in real estate, services, and now I coach, and I've coached about 5 years online for other women in business. And it's hard when you are good at different things. Many people are multi-passionate. Entrepreneurs, I think most of us are. But it's really hard when
Yep.
you think, I'm not sure which of those skills is the thing that I'm supposed to land on and become known for.
Mhm.
And I struggled with that for a very long time. And it took some learning about myself to realize what I was really good at was motivating people, showing people how to step into who they are and
Yep.
have the courage to become the face of their business. Because once they did that and they had a personal brand, their business took off because their business had so much trust and credibility with their audience. And that's ultimately how I ended up working in personal branding and coaching and visibility. But I like to share that story because I want to say if you're someone who feels like you're not quite sure where you're supposed to land, that is a very normal feeling. And it takes some reflection and some work to get there.
Yes. I love this. And I'm really excited that you said, when we're so multidimensional and we have lots of interests, we want to figure out and pinpoint what we want
Mhm.
to be known for. And this is a big component of our body of work here. And I love other people's perspectives and insights around becoming known and really stepping into that. So, okay, knowing that it took you 4 months to quit, which we love. Let's normalize that. And then you allowed yourself to become a specialist. So here's what I want to hear from you. When you are becoming known, I know that identity shift. And I
Mhm.
know that that takes taking action that you're not ready for, that you don't think or you think you may need more time, more expertise, whatever it is. So I'd love to hear from your perspective how you allowed yourself to become known and how you teach this to your clients to embody before they even feel ready.
Such a good question. Can I share a story?
Yes,
Okay.
we
I
love
mean,
stories.
we're here for the strategy too, but I would love to share a story.
Yes.
So, when I was really focusing on like trying to figure out what do I want to be known for, I'm good at a lot of different things in business. What does this actually look like? I had this dream of speaking, and I at that time was growing a community, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But I really had
Mhm.
this dream of doing a lot more speaking on much bigger stages. But I was like, I just don't know which one of these things is my thing. First, I
Yeah.
started with market research and I started with like having conversations with people I trusted of like, what do you wish that you would learn from me? Like, what do you wish I would talk about more often? And that was helpful to
Mm.
get some ideas of like, what do other people like, it's sticky to them about me, like it sticks with their memory and their brain. And then I
Mhm.
went on a retreat weekend or a mastermind weekend with a couple of good friends in Scottsdale, Arizona. It was about a year and a half ago. And we're sitting around masterminding all week, working on our business plans, and we go out to dinner on the last night. And I'm like, okay, I have a question for you. And it wasn't a question I had asked anybody else. I'd just before asked, like, what topics would you want to hear me speak on? And I
Mhm.
sat there at the dinner table and I was like, I don't even know if I actually want to ask this. Like, I really want to know the answer, but I'm also very scared of the answer. And I turned to my friends and I was like, where do you think I'm playing small in my
Oh,
life and business? And I asked this because I trusted them. I knew that whatever they said was going to be said with love, and it
Hmm.
wasn't necessarily going to be shared outside of that circle.
Hmm.
And what they said was not anything I was expecting. I was expecting them to say, we really wish you would, teach more advanced strategy or something like that. Like, I don't know. I was expecting something very literal or tangible. And what they said
Yeah.
was, I just wish you'd share more of you. It feels like you're
Oh,
hiding behind being a teacher and an educator and not being a leader and being
mm,
you. And in that
yes.
moment, I was like, are they right? Right? Like you're at first kind of shocked that someone said that to
Yep.
you. But then I realized like, no, no, they are right. I've been
Mhm.
hiding behind being good at my skills in my business
Yes.
and not identifying Taylor, like who do I want to be? And it's so interesting that you and I met at this event where we were literally given awards for being recognized for who we've become and being
Mhm.
innovators in the space for women in business. But back then, I was just felt so lost of I don't actually know who that is, right? I don't
Yeah.
know who I am beyond being the educator and the teacher. I've been so safe and comfortable in that role. So for anyone who is really at that first step, I think that is where I would start is, asking yourself, but also maybe asking a couple of people that you genuinely trust, like, what do you wish that I would do? Where do you wish I was bold? Or where do you think I'm playing small?
Hmm. That is such an amazing story. When you shared that, I instantly got chills because I'm like, oh, so many women need to hear this because it's really easy for us to. I mean, we all have skills, we all have superpowers, we all have our zone of genius. And it's really easy for us to identify with our skills
Mm-hmm.
and to kind of like hide behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like if here's the stage and here's the curtain, you're like, ooh, I got to stay backstage. I got to stay behind the curtain. Like, I'm not meant to be center stage and
Mm-hmm.
speak. So I love this so much. This was like a huge permission slip that you just dropped on this podcast. I know for all of those listening. And a huge question that I get a lot, and I want to hear your perspective on this is how do you become a speaker? I hear this all of the time from my audience, from my clients. How do you become a speaker? And I want to hear your perspective on this because I know that you created that yourself and you really
Mm-hmm.
stepped into the identity of a speaker. So I'd love to hear that.
I feel like I went the non-traditional way of becoming a speaker, but I will say it's the way that is available to more people
Hmm.
than what would be the traditional way. So I think the traditional way is you're waiting to be discovered,
Yes.
waiting for someone to qualify you or recognize you. You're waiting for someone to say, "Hey, would you come in and teach this?"
Hmm.
And that does work for some people, but for most, you might be waiting a very long time.
Yep.
On the other hand, you can start by creating your own stages. And that is where I started. So
Yes.
when I wanted to become a speaker, I went through kind of the traditional process of applying to speak on podcasts. I taught a lot online through virtual communities. I'd obviously done my own coaching and membership for years. So, and then my
Mhm.
like formal training as a teacher. So it wasn't like I was, day one of public speaking ever. But at the same time, the idea of like getting invited to speak on stages felt amazing and so unavailable to me because I was like, nobody knows who I am. I don't have this big
Yes.
network. Nobody
Mhm.
knows my name. They've never seen me speak. So what can I do about this? And I was like, well, you could just create your own stage. Why don't we do
Yes.
that? So I hosted my very first event now about a little over 2 years ago, and here in Northwest Florida and in Destin on the beach. And it grew very, very quickly, which I'm very excited to say. And what
Mhm.
that did for me to become a speaker was it gave me leverage in several ways. So one is I got to invite people to come speak on my stage that I wanted to see me speak. So I went through
Mm.
and I invited every event host that I knew to come to my event,
Hmm.
and many of them I invited to speak on my stage. So
Amazing.
I got them in the room and then they watched me speak. That was a part of it. Another part of it is getting to put in those reps with your own event where you get to control a lot more than you typically do at another event. When I'm speaking at someone else's event, there's a lot of variables, right? You don't have control over who's going before you, after you, what time you're going, how long the event is. Like, there's so many little things that can go wrong. And of course, like, there are things that can go wrong at your own event, but at the same time, it gives you this ability to create a defining moment, or if we'll tie this back to a defining identity that can set you up to get invited to speak on other stages because you have complete creative control over that. The photos, the video, the outfits, the vibe, the topics. A lot of times
Mhm.
when you're speaking on someone else's stage, you might not even get to pick your own topic. Like, for example,
True.
I love to teach I love to keynote. That's what I love to do. I'm a keynote speaker. I love to
Mhm.
storytell. But I go to many events where they're like, no, no, could you teach on digital products? And of course, I'm like, sure, I'll serve your audience. I'll teach on an area of my expertise. But that's not something that I genuinely want to shape my speaker identity around. And so by creating your
Yeah.
own event, it also gives you the opportunity to do that faster and more effectively for yourself. And it doesn't have to be a big event. You can definitely do things that are small, but that's actually where I would start if you're willing to be a little bit bold and you're willing to bet on yourself and not wait for people to qualify you.
Oh my God. I knew that we were meant to. I knew you were meant to be on this podcast because I can't tell you how many people are waiting. We're waiting for the opportunity to come in. We're waiting for someone to notice us. We're waiting to be recognized. We're waiting to be validated. And it's like, you can do it yourself. And I love this because it is breaking the mold and it's redefining how to build your own stage and create your own stage because we weren't taught this. We were truly taught to wait.
Yep, 1,000%. Just like wait until someone discovers you.
Yes. Yeah. And then for us, when we're in that, oh, well, this is my only option, it feels like this. I'm doing all the things. I'm creating all the reels. I'm doing the podcast and no one's still seeing me. No one
Mhm.
notice is noticing me. And it's like, yeah, I know that it feels that way. And I love that you just opened up an avenue, opened up a pathway for so many people where they're like, this has never been shown to me. This has never been revealed to me that there's another way. There's another option to build and create your own stage.
And I'll just throw this in since I know we want to talk about visibility tours, but it also doesn't have to be this big in-person event. So I've been
Yes.
using this concept of going on tour for about 4 years now. And the in different capacities, whether that's podcast guest tours or Instagram live tours, or literally like one of my favorite ways to tell people is host events in every little, if you live in like a big urban area, like every little suburb, and like put yourself on a tour to all the small cities in your area and get all of that content, right? Position yourself as this, person who has 1 million followers, who's the $1 million personal brand, who's leading a movement of thousands. Not because we're trying to fake anything or mislead people, but if you start believing that that's possible for you, and if you start stepping into this could be my future, so I'm going to take steps towards that, you will achieve the goals and the visibility that you want so much faster. So I just always love to encourage people, like, think outside the box. Like, you don't have to apply to speak at these big conferences unless you want to,
Mhm.
but there's also all of these
Yeah.
other powerful ways that you can get social proof, get content of you speaking, get content of you leading and interacting and engaging with people. Because a lot of people don't realize, and I can speak to this on both sides as a speaker and an event host. Being a subject matter expert is not enough to get you on stages.
Mm.
Being great at what you do will not get you on a stage. The reality of speaking now is actually you need an engaged audience that you can help the event promote to. You need social proof So as an event host, if I'm considering someone to speak, I'm going to go watch all your content, listen to all your podcast episodes, right? I want to get a sense of what would she be like on my stage. So you need actual social proof of you talking, teaching, holding the mic, interacting with people. Those are all things that you actually have control over to create
Yes.
yourself when you want to get started speaking. And you don't need to wait for someone else to do those things.
Oh, that was just a mic drop, like truth serum moment that so many of us needed to hear. It's true. And it really is all about positioning, right? And you going first. And I want to share a personal story. So at the award ceremony, we were talking and you were telling me about the tour that you were on. And I was like, this is so fucking cool. I love this. I love the idea of a tour. Like, I want to do this. And then the first thought, I mean, not in that moment, but like a few days later when I actually had time to sit down and process everything,
Mhm.
I was like, okay, Taylor just sparked this like drive within me to do a tour and I want to do a rich coded tapping tour. And I was so
Yes.
excited.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then these are my thoughts in real time. Are you ready?
I'm
This is
here for it.
before like
Let's
what you
go.
This is before what you just shared. My thoughts in real time were like, oh my God, planning a tour sounds so overwhelming. It sounds like so much work. It sounds like all these things I need to do. And then because I got overwhelmed, I was like, let me just put a pin in it and we'll circle back to that. Right.
Mm,
And these were my real time thoughts that we love to be vulnerable and share. And what you just said there, how you just gave three different options of a tour, I was like, easy. I feel like that's doable and now I'm ready.
mhm. There's so many different ways that you can make this work for you. So some of my clients, for example, are like military spouses. They can't just drop everything and
Mm.
go tour across the country. They want
Right.
that visibility for their business. It's not like they don't want to do that. They're like, oh yeah, I would love to do that. But like, I'm the single parent most of the time when my partner is deployed. So what
Yep.
else can we do? We can do a podcast guest tour. We could do Instagram lives, right? They could do things locally. There's so many other ways that to make that happen. And from a personal branding and visibility standpoint, if you feel like nothing's happening in your business, I would encourage you instead of like doing those visibility things such as podcasts, such as speaking or doing Instagram reels, instead of doing them a little bit here and there, stack them all up in a short amount of time. So,
Mm.
one thing that Taylor Swift taught us in the past couple of years is that everybody actually really loves a tour. We love a theme, we love some extra hype, we love this cultivated experience. So, whatever you're doing, you can absolutely take what the content you were already gonna make, right? The content you were already gonna do and just package it with a little bit of extra sparkle, little something special, a particular theme, and turn it into a tour. And then that gives
Mm.
you, first of all, even more content. But people will actually start to recognize that that's what you're doing, and it puts you in this next level category to your audience. They're thinking, I don't know anybody else who's on tour, right? That's literally what you said to me,
Mhm.
right? And it
Yes.
anybody can do it, but bring a little bit of that like
Mhm.
Taylor Swift energy to your own business by instead of going on a podcast here, a podcast here, can you stack, you know, 4 to 10 of them in the space of a month?
Mhm.
And people will say to
Yeah.
you, wow, you are everywhere. How are you getting on all these podcasts? And you're like, I'm on tour. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing in the whole world. Your business must really be successful. So, like, tell me more about how I can work with you.
Mhm. Yes. I love that. And I love this so much because, like I said, truth be told, you introduced me to a personal tour. And I'm like, this is like, I'm a Leo. So I'm very, obviously, when you met me, it was very like sparkly and bold. But I'm like, oh my God, a tour? Fuck yes. Like, dream come true. And I know those who are listening, everyone's wheels are spinning because they're like,
Mhm.
oh, you just gave me so many ideas. And like I said, a huge energetic permission slip that I get to go first. I don't have to wait anymore. And that we love.
That's actually one of the sayings that I use in a keynote of mine. It's called "You're not unqualified, you're just first."
Mm,
And the story that I share from that is from my first conference that I built, and it sold out, which is really incredible for your first event. We had 75 women in the room. We couldn't have put anybody else in there if we tried. However, for a year before that, I hosted coffee meetups, and most of the time, nobody came.
interesting.
And I'm sitting at these coffee shop meetups. The first few were actually very successful, and then they kind of like people faded away and
Yeah.
nobody's there. And I was sitting there one day at one of these coffee meetups where nobody had come again for the second month in a row. And I was
Mhm.
like, you know, Taylor, you can just make this all disappear. You can delete the posts. Nobody ever really has to know you were trying to create this in-person community. Nobody really even has to know that you tried and failed.
Mhm.
And I sat there and I was asking myself, like, okay, what do you care about in this moment? Your ego or the impact? You know, you are the one who is meant to create this community. So you're willing to keep showing up even before anybody else is. And I decided the answer was yes. And I kept going and I kept community building and I kept putting in the work. And like eventually that led to that sold out conference. And at that very first event, a woman came up to me at the end of the day. I will never forget. I'd never met her before. She came up and she looked me right in the eyes. We're like getting pictures with everybody, and I'm thanking everyone for coming. And she gives me a hug and she says, "Thank you for going first." And
Oh,
I'd never thought of myself as first, right? But I
mhm.
realized in that moment that is what I actually did when I decided to pursue creating the community that I knew we needed here and building a conference and like putting Northwest Florida on the map for women in business, which is now an internationally attended conference. When I
Mm.
started that, I just thought, I really need this. And I didn't realize at the time that what I was doing was going first.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. Yes. The leading energy. That's what we call it. You're the leading energy. You go first, and then other people and other opportunities and money, sales, and clients respond to you because you went first. You led. Oh, that is such a beautiful story. I love that. This is just lighting me up, this combo. So, one thing I definitely wanted to talk to you about was community building and
Mhm.
growth. And as we know, all over social media, it's really easy to be like, oh, how do I build my community? What am I doing wrong? So I'd love to hear from you, from personal branding
Mm.
expertise and specialist. What would be your first step to growing your community?
So, community, by definition, so I'm going to put my anthropologist hat on here for a second, is a sense of belonging based
Mhm.
around shared goals or beliefs. So, what you're doing when you create a community is you need to create a sense of belonging. And right now, online, people throw the word community around like it means the same thing as followers, like it means the same thing as audience, or it's simply another word to describe your group coaching program or membership. That's not
Yeah.
what community actually is. Community is an intangible feeling that people have where they recognize they are a part of something that's bigger than themselves, but more importantly, bigger than their relationship to you. So, in order to effectively have community, you need to tie people to not just you, because if they only have a relationship with you, that's just one-to-one coaching,
Mhm.
not just to you, but to other people who have those shared goals or shared beliefs. And if you want to grow a community, you've got to focus on making sure that you position yourself as the center of connections. And I know that connecting is very natural and easy for some people and not for others. So I would love to share, if it's okay with you, Kelly, like a couple of ways that you can do that
Please.
online and in person. So I love to connect people, and I do that by I love to ask questions, learn about their stories, and literally just put people into connection. So I'll do this online in DM. Like if I know, Kelly, that you want to go on a tour, I might put you in a DM and say, "Hey, this is my friend so and so. She has a podcast. I think you'd be an amazing guest for, and I know you're looking to go on a podcast tour." And I put you guys in a DM together, and then I'm like, meet each other, have a great day, bye, and I leave the group chat. And
Yes.
it's funny and it's a little weird, but it makes
No.
people talk to each other. Um, Another way that you can do this is by creating special sayings or phrases. Maybe you even already have these for yourself or your one-to-one clients, but you're not using them publicly,
Mhm.
that people identify with, that you can encourage them to say it as well. So I will say if you're in like health, fitness, anything growth oriented like that, like very personal goal oriented, this is a sweet spot for you. If you can check in like every, um, like let's say let's get it done Thursdays, for example, and every Thursday you encourage your community members to like tag you in their Instagram stories with their workout for that day or their no excuses
Mm.
Thursday, and then you reshare them and you for anybody who tags you. So thinking of ways where people begin to feel like they're part of something bigger. You can also, if you're going
Mhm.
on tour, if you're going to create something like that, you can create special community events. So it can be free or paid, it doesn't matter. But,
Yeah.
if you want to give people an email list, a landing page sign up, you can say anybody who registers gets a free VIP hour, like early access. We're going to have a VIP hour for our community members and give people a sense of something that's exclusive and fun that they want to be a part of, that's centered around those shared beliefs, shared goals, or feelings that they have. Because at the end of the day, there's kind of a what I call the new buying desires phenomenon happening right now. And
Mhm.
in the online business space, for the past few years, we've been able to very successfully sell information, right? Courses, coaching, it's all about information. But
Yep.
thanks to AI, we no longer have the ability to do that. That clock is running out. So the new buying
Mhm.
desires that people have that they are willing to pay you for is not just information, but it's connection, support, accountability, belonging to a group of people that they know are going to be aligned in values and in
Mhm.
a similar stage in their journey. And so I know that these are like very big ideas to talk about and it can feel a little overwhelming, but if your goal actually is community, you need to get really, really clear on what is that sense of belonging that we're providing to people. Like zero in on what is it that you're actually creating that's part of your mission and movement that connects them to each other.
The way that you just explained that is so beautiful. And I know that it just helps so many of our listeners because the way that you even defined community, I know that for so many of us, it's like, how do I get people to follow me? How do I get people to, and we make it all about us. And I'm not saying it's not about you, but it's you and then something greater than you. And the way that you just explained that made so much sense and landed for me. And I know it did for so many of us. And that feels exciting. And I know that when people are building something greater than them, it's like, of course I can get on board with this. Of course I want to invite people in. Of course I want to connect. Of course I want to have the same value system and tap people into the possibility of who they're becoming. Right? Like what you just shared right there, I know just clicked and landed for so many people who have been desiring to build their community, but they didn't understand how. So what you just said landed perfectly for so many of us. I'm like, yes. Even for me, I'm like, oh girl, I'm excited. Like I'm excited to go bigger. I'm excited to go bolder, right? Because
Mhm.
how you shared that just landed in my body. So
It's
thank you.
about recognizing that you're the leader,
Hmm.
but you're the leader of a movement and a group of people who is on the same journey as you. They're just a few steps behind. And I
Yes.
always look at my community with so much respect, because many of I work with businesses on personal branding and visibility. I'm a business coach at heart. But I
Hmm.
know that most of my community members know a lot about business. So I'm never going to treat them in a way that makes them feel like I know so much more than them or I would never take them seriously just because they're my client. Like I treat them as if we are all in the same circle and we have the same values, and that their experience is just as valuable as mine to other people in the community. And one
Mm.
way that I kind of look at this is I might be able to help a client get from A to B to C, but
Mhm.
somebody else in that community might be ready to take her from C to D. Somebody in the
Yeah.
community might need me first, but then I don't want her journey, that client, to end when our time is done together, right? She
Mhm.
might need to go C to D with someone else in our community. Or we're working together, right? So this is also the case. I have an amazing speaking coach. She's also a client of mine in our community. And we
Mhm.
have many clients who might be working with me on launching their offers and their personal brand while they're working with her in their speaking skills and improving their speaking. And I really just want to look at my offers and my clients and my business as this very like uh symbiotic, maybe is the word I'm looking for, like ecosystem
Mhm.
where many of
Yeah.
these people are able to serve each other while also I am able to support them and they are paying me to be the leader of that whole ecosystem.
That makes so much sense. Yes. And I love that too because it removes this hierarchy and it removes that like pedestaling
Yeah,
effect.
I don't want to be on a pedestal. That's very uncomfortable, but I'm fully
Yeah.
okay with knowing I can lead people to where they need to go. And that it's through their own autonomy and their own desire, they want that, that I'm able to step into that role. And finding a way to figure that out for yourself, like what feels good, strip it all down, strip away everything you think that you're supposed to do, and just like, how would it feel good for you to lead people?
Mhm. That's a perfect question. How would it feel good for you to lead people? This is amazing. I'm like, I could talk to you all day. You just gave so many permission slips. And like, I know that before we hit record, you were like, we can talk strategy, but I want to talk identity. But you also wove in energetic strategy, which is what we love and which is what we're here for. This is amazing. Um, Anything else that's coming through you that you want to share with us for personal branding, building your own stages, community building, anything else that you want to share and drop some nuggets of wisdom before we wrap up?
I think just to tie it all together, just know that whatever stage of business you're at, whether you're like, yeah, I'm already speaking and I love this idea of a tour and I'm going to go for it, or if maybe you're at the very early stages of community building or defining your personal brand, no one will define it or decide who you are outside of anything that you tell them. Like you are the strategy, and that sounds a little fluffy, but it literally, your movement will grow and your visibility will grow based on what you decide is what you want to be known for. So if you feel like you're like, oh, I would really love to be known for this thing, but I don't know if I'm ready, I don't know if people see me that way, do the exploration, do the self work and the questioning, but then at some point, it literally is a matter of you telling the story over and over and over again until people just simply associate you that way. So, very practically, I'll say I've told every person I've met that I was on a speaking tour for like the last 6 months. Now, is that true? Of course it's true. But do I have a 10,000 other things I could tell them? Yes. But the reason I picked that
Mhm.
one is because that's what I want to be known for. I want to be speaking all over the country for the next couple of years internationally. So the personal brand story and the leadership
Mhm.
story and the community building story, they're all very much tied together. But like the story I want to be known for is that story of being on tour, of becoming a national speaker, of leading a movement. So think about, if you're not sure what to post, what to do with my business, like what's the goal, it's really actively telling the story that you want to become the reality. And we hear this a lot in like manifestation, right? And in other areas of personal development, but it also is the case with your business strategy and personal branding too, is you have to tell people how to remember you.
Mm, yes. And that doesn't sound fluffy at all. You're speaking our language. It's so true. You are the strategy, right? It's not anything outside of you, it's you. And I love how You led with, you get to decide. You decide who you are, you decide who you're known for, and that's what it becomes. It gets to be that simple. That was beautiful. That was really, really powerful. I could literally talk to you all day. Tell us how we can continue this connection with you, where we can find you, and how we can work with you.
You can connect with me on Instagram. That's usually where I hang out. My personal handle is Taylor Smith Online, but our community is called the Power Table. So it's thepowertable.co. We also have a podcast, and I would love if any of you listen to this and you're like, yep, I want to get in more rooms this year. I want to get in person. I'm also interested in maybe speaking more. We have our annual conference every April. It is in Destin, Florida. So come find me on Instagram. I'll send you the details on that conference, but we would love to have you in the room. It is a personal branding and marketing conference for female founders.
Oh, amazing. That sounds so aligned, so us. I'm going to drop that info in the show notes. And thank you so much for spilling the tea, dropping the nuggets of wisdom. Thank you for your genius and your expertise and for being on the show.
And everyone look out for the Rich Coded tour. Now it has to happen, Kelly.
Oh, I mean, it's claimed. It's happening. I love it. Look out, everyone. Oh my gosh, I love it. If you loved this episode as much as I did, please take a screenshot and tag me on Instagram so I can share you and your incredible body of work to my network and celebrate you. And as a special abundance gift, please give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Take a screenshot, send it to me on Instagram, and I'll send you my sexy sales hypnosis to rewire yourself rich in your sleep.